Welcome to Impact at Work, a special VMJ pod series with Jo Vohland and me, David Macciocca. Each week we explore how talent leaders are defining the future of work, not by speed or output, but by the real difference they make in creating meaningful impact in the workplace.
Welcome to the VMJ pod series, where we're unpacking impact at work. I'm Jo Vohland.
And I'm David Macciocca.
And today we have got the amazing Marrin-Boyd Andrews joining us in studio. So Marrin, people mostly know you as MBA.
Yep, they do.
That's it. Lovely.
They do.
And you are a global talent sourcing manager, but you're also the founder of ProPrompt. Can you unpack what is ProPrompt?
Sure.
And who uses it? How do they use it?
Sure. So ProPrompt is really quite simply a tool to be able to talk to AI by simply selecting, copying, and pasting. So we've created templates for people so they can go in there, make a selection of whatever they're after, say business strategy, talent sourcing, whatever they like, select the prompt they want, and we've got built-in variables inside. So all they do is they just change the variables, copy it, and they can paste it into any AI to be able to chat to it without having to write prompts from the beginning, which is what I think most people struggle with. How do I talk to AI? How do I get it right? So we've created those prompts to make it easy for a lot of people. I think the biggest adopters have actually been individuals for major businesses. So we've got a lot of different businesses globally that have dived in, which has been pretty cool. Actually, a lot more in the US than Australia, unfortunately, but we're building that. But the idea is that people are diving into it and then they're building their teams off the back of it. So they're getting a license for it and being able to build out, say, for the talent sourcing team, here's a prompt stack for you, and here's one for finance, and here's one for whatever, or HR.
For marketing,
whatever.
yeah.
Yeah. So the nice part about it is they can grab the subscription, but they get them all, right? So there's over 40,000 prompts. There's over 100, I think 110 or 111 collections now. But there's a lot to choose from and plenty to go through. So the next steps for us is to head into the agents field, which should be hitting the ground pretty soon.
Wow.
Fingers crossed for developers.
Before we dive into AI agents, and you're I know that, David, you've got some AI agents. I'm the numpty in the room. You're going to have to talk me through that. But I want to point out for listeners that your prompts are really different than anything I've seen or experienced. They are mammoth. They are so big and meaty, and they are customizable. So you can kind of put in your specific context of organization or what have you. But the way that I'm assuming like many others, prompt is kind of one thing at a time. So I'll input something, I'll ask it, I'll review it. And for me, it's a series of kind of tweaking to get to that outcome. Whereas you start with this massive scroll and then all of a sudden, so there's a lot of effort that goes into creating the prompt. To get the output, right?
That's it. That's exactly right. And the idea is what is called chain of thought. So the idea is that we build the prompt. Say we're looking for HR prompt that is going to be for a learning development for senior leaders. We make sure that the prompt covers all the chain of thought that it has to do after it's finished completing something. So when it's finished this, I want this. And then when it's done this, I want you then to do this. So we do it in that fashion so that the prompt is quite solid. And to your point, some of them are very lengthy, where you don't have to write that. All you have to do is change the variables in it to say, hey, look, it's for a senior leadership learning and development program about diversity. And the people in the room are you fill it in. And this is the outcome we want to have. And this is the actions off the back of it. And here's the training module. So we make sure that you walk away with a product that you have, that you would normally be 40 times going back to AI going,
yes.
And now do this, and now do this, and now do this.
Me.
Yeah.
That's me.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, and I know that you've created this huge niche for yourself, right? Because at Fonterra, you almost created this kind of like, is it informal or formal prompt team where all the business units will come to you looking for something and you'll create a prompt. Do you just create the prompt for them or do you create the output for them?
Yeah. So the way we started was we worked with our leadership team for talent. So the idea was to work closely with them because they would also then champion it down to the recruiters or the like to help upskill them and the like. So we started with them. So we've got a marketing manager. We've obviously got different parts of talent that are in there around maybe the grads programs, all that sort of stuff. So we worked as close as we can with them, even with the operations, to help out with the leadership stuff or the notifications that were going out in the business. So we created prompt stacks for each one of those. So some people have a lot in there, some people only have a few, but we made sure that we focused on what was a problem. And when I say a problem, something that was either repetitive or something that they were having to manually write every single time and that they were doing maybe weekly, monthly, quarterly, whatever. So we focused on those prompts first and we released that to those teams. And now what we found is that the business got noise of it. So I've done the same with HR and I've done the same in other areas where they've gone, oh, is there a prompt for this? Is there a prompt for that? And that's how ProPrompt started. It was just people always ask me, is there a prompt that does that? So it was just the merging of identifying what's a problem we can solve, what's something that you do repetitively, and what can we do it into a template for you? So you just open that template, change the variables every time. So if they had to open up that prompt again and go into that prompt, and they were doing another training module, they just change the variables. They say, right, we're now doing one on this, and this is the audience, and this is the outcomes we're looking for, and all the rest. So they're only changing 3 or 4 things sometimes in one prompt, but they don't have to do like to your words, the effort of a massive, 13-page prompt that we've added in there. They don't need to learn that, but I do expose them, and I do that for a reason because I want people to learn it, right? I'd like people to see the prompt, and then they can go, oh, right, that's how it's structured, and oh, I need to know about algorithms, and I need to know about this, so it'd be good for me to learn it. So those that want to can, but the idea is they don't need to know it. Most people don't have time, Joe. That's the truth of it, and that's what I found. People just don't have time to learn it. So we just made it a little bit easier.
Well, I've subscribed to Marrin's prompts, and just reading your prompts has taught me a lot about what I've been missing in how I'm using it and thinking about, oh, wow, I could incorporate Robert Cialdini's weapons of ethical influence into this, marketing strategy, and we could delve that in and be kind of leveraging content and leaders that are already out there for things like their principles behind certain things. And so that's really changed some, amazing things at ATC. David, are you a prompt guy?
Am I prompt? Yeah, I'm an AI guy. I really, there's a lot of efficiencies that it can create, obviously. I'm curious to know, was there any change management that you had to go through at Fonterra because people were a little bit reluctant for whatever reason? And then how did you go about doing that?
That's a really good question, and it is something that Fonterra did really well. So when AI hit, obviously every business around the globe went, oh my God, how are we going to handle this? And our governance and our IP and all that stuff came into conversation. The business put into place teams that actually could support the business in the best way. And that was from the people to the governance side, right? So we had AI ambassadors come in, and they were constantly training and constantly moving. And then there was a AI upskilling team, and they did videos, and I worked closely with that team on doing AI videos to train people and all the rest of it. But the really cool part that Fonterra, I think, handled really well is they didn't mandate it. They just said, look, you're on your own journey with AI.
Yep.
We're here to support you. We want to, develop your own, it's that old thing of you're in charge of your career. We're just here to support you to get you there, right? So that was the best way they could have done it. And we found that the more that they spoke like that, there was more interest for them to go, oh, all right, well, I'll try it out now. Some people never touched it. Some people used it for cooking. Some people did it every now and then. Some people, there was you got all these different characters and different levels, right? But the prompts were a really big help because what you find is that, especially in my team, in the sourcing team, that we found that for them to get buy-in, it's when you solve a problem and they went, oh my God, that took me 3 hours every Thursday to do that same damn thing. And it was done in 3 minutes, so they got buy-in. So what we found is that by allowing people to learn, try and experiment, once the penny dropped on something that did solve for them, they're in and they wanted more. And they, so that's usually, that's been the coolest part about what Fonterra has done. They've allowed people to take their journey, but highly encourage that they do.
So they're really open to people experimenting. Were they AI agnostic?
They not really in the beginning. Now experimental, like what Fonterra quickly did, which was really well done actually, is we rolled out our own co-op GPT, so it was controlled.
Okay.
So obviously you can imagine when it opened, I mean every second person had ChatGPT running, and all of a sudden businesses just like us had to go, whoa, watch what you put in there.
Yeah.
Don't be sending information out that you don't need to. So to control it, they didn't take it away in the sense of you can't use it. They've done that now, obviously, but at the initial, they just said, "Hey, we'll build our own. It's a controlled environment. You can still access all your files. You can still see everything on your spreadsheets. You can see all your conversations. You can access the data you need to do your job and all the rest of it." But it was controlled, so they couldn't get out with it. So it was just done really well.
This episode is brought to you by Video My Job, your go-to platform for creating branded employee videos at scale with zero editing. If you're burning time and budget producing talent content, there is a better way. Book a demo at Video My Job to see how teams like yours are creating hundreds of employee videos without editing a single thing.
Amazing. And so I feel like personally, I have my head, thanks to you, Marrin, I have my head wrapped around a certain level of prompting. But you and I have had some great conversations in the last year. I know one of them, you were trying to explain cryptocurrency to me. I'm like, I still don't get it. You're mining something. What does that mean? So I'm really worried that I'm going to be one of those people who is just not going to get what an AI agent is or does.
Yep, absolutely. And you're not alone again. I can't count the amount of times I've said that in presentations, the like, to make people understand you're not alone. The whole Bitcoin thing, I can tell you now, the majority of the people that probably are in crypto still don't probably understand the true blockchain on the back end, and all the bits that go to it.
NFT? That was another
Yeah,
doozy.
NFC that died in a heartbeat, didn't
That
it?
sounds like a sport to me. I don't know.
Yeah, that's another one that came in there. That was a little bit of a quick spin of money, but I don't think that's going to hold on. But look, the difference is actually really, really easy to understand from what's called generative AI to agentic AI, right? So the generative is what we know ChatGPT, right? It's designed to just talk to us, give us answers, information to stuff we ask, to help us and support us and all the rest of it, right? The prompt behind doing that is to train the GPT, that generative AI that you chat to on whatever, Claude, whatever you're using, is to give it a quicker, better, faster answer by using a prompt. The difference from generative AI to the agentic AI is that they're helpers. So what you can do with an agent, which is like the next step, is you can train it on your knowledge. So you can have a conversation with it that then can action and also be automated. So you're taking that generative AI conversation of just backwards and forwards and getting answers and solutions to actually training an agent on, when I do this, you'll trigger that, then you'll go there, then you'll send that, then you'll download that. So just think of it like it thinks for itself. So every time you do something, when you've trained that agent in a process of what it needs to do, the end result will come. And it may be like 5 things it needs to go and grab. Like, for example, I might send out a marketing message, right? And it'll know as soon as I send out that marketing message, trigger that, send that to Instagram, send that to LinkedIn. And when it's finished, download a copy, add it to my email, mail it out to all of my people on my mailing list, so that the agentic is doing all this other stuff and thinking outside of, not thinking outside, thinking within what I've given it to do, but it does it automatically. So it's a really amazing tool and very, very powerful. We'll all end up having agents. Like I had a chat with Matt Woodard the other day, and I was just saying, we're all going to have agents, mate. We're going to have an agent for this. We're going to have an agent for that, and it'll know you so well. So as soon as you chat with that agent or say, I want you to do this, it grabs your cluster of information, goes, oh, that's what Joe does. When Joe does that, Joe goes here. And then I want to send that there and send that, so we're all going to have that. And it's going to be an amazing tool, so we can get back to the really cool stuff of actually living our life and meeting with people and, all the good stuff that we do in our business and our job,
How many agents now I'm not talking about Fonterra, I'm talking about you,
Yep.
Marrin-Boyd Andrews.
Yep.
How many agents do you have?
I have a fair few. And the reason why I say a fair few, they're across a lot of platforms. So I use N8N a fair bit to create agents. So it's a really simple tool that people can try out. There's also agents now built into browsers. There's a new browser actually come out called Strawberry, which is amazing. You can have your own little agent on there, and one's for marketing or one's for LinkedIn or one's for that. And it just automates from there. So there's lots of different tools that are like that, but I have agents pretty much for everything to automate. So there's stuff that you'll see posted on LinkedIn or stuff you'll see posted somewhere. It's not me. It's the agent goes, oh, MBA's put another video up on YouTube. Okay, get that across onto LinkedIn. You know, write the description for the video, post that to there as well, and all that sort of stuff. And even the other day, Joe, when you and I were talking, you'll say, "Oh, the description on that video up doesn't give us the link." And I went, "Yeah, that's right." So I went back and I trained the agent. I said, "You must put the link. You must have my site. You must have the, all the information." So you can constantly train that agent to be better and better and better. Yeah, there's a lot.
Well, we're talking about impact at work and prompts, and it really does sound like there's a lot of efficiencies to be gained. Regarding talent acquisition, if we were to hone in on acquiring talent, where do you see the lowest hanging fruit?
Oh, it's in the gaps. In the gaps. Look for the gaps in the process. And when I say the gaps, it's the stuff that's manual, admin. That's the low stuff. That's the easy stuff, right? Because if a recruiter has to go, oh my God, now I've got to copy all that information I've just done to the CRM or to the ATS that I've just had that conversation and whatever not. So there's all this manual stuff in there in the process. Oh, now I've got to send an email to the hiring leader that I've interviewed those 3 people and give them the screening results or the information that I've gathered from the candidate. There's all that stuff. There's all this manual stuff that once that's taken, why are we double entry? Why are we doing double entry? Why are we doing double data, right? It should just be automated from there. So the little fruits is purely where you see, and this is everything outside of the human element, because I can tell you now there's a minimum of 5 touch points that require the human element in a recruiter's process. A recruiter's process is pretty long. If you look at it from the initial, here's a rec on my desk, to actually onboarding someone, there is so many touch points where you cannot have the AI in there. It needs you. You're not going to understand someone's behavioral, their comms, how their family is, their options to move, what their challenges are to leave their other job. All that stuff that it comes out of a conversation that you have with someone is just essential. And then you've got the hiring leaders, and they got to talk to them and see whether they're a good fit for their team and are a good culture fit. So there's so many touch points where the human's still involved, but the low fruit is the pain points, the little ones that you go, oh my God, I do that all the time. And I've written that already. Why am I copying over to that database from that data? Recruiters get so frustrated with those things.
If I think about, the big changes to professions, I mean, you had at some point in time, I would think it was, 17 to 20 years ago, you had this really big change for marketers, right? The senior leader marketing roles were held by people that had a degree from a G of 8 university who, 15 years experience, and they held those roles. And then digital marketing happened, social media happened. And what we saw after that was all of a sudden nobody cared that you went to a G of 8 university and learnt some old school curriculum. Right? They only cared, what have you done in the last 2 years? What have you done on socials? What have you done on digital? And that became more valuable than that sort of, older expertise that you'd had. And so what we were able to see is that everybody reached this brand new starting point. They were all on a level playing field, and some people took it and just ran ahead with it and really created a lot of career opportunities for themselves. So if we think about recruiters and we think about prompting and we think about AI agents, what is the big opportunity where somebody who goes, oh, it's so hard to break into that leader role. It's so hard to break into this, a more meatier role. What can they do? What's your advice?
Yeah. So firstly, you're spot on. We are all back at a level playing field again. exactly that situation, but we're all here again. And you've seen it straight away where you can have high tech companies now that are competing with startups left, right, and center that are just they've got the same tech, the latest information, the latest tools, and all the rest of it that all the big guys have got, right? So we are back there. But for somebody that wants to quickly get up there, I say absorb AI and get into it on a level of get it to teach you and train you on the things that you will need to have as your foundations in the role you're looking for. So you would go, right, if I'm going to be a senior leader, I've got to have, a good understanding of that part of the business, and I've got to understand what goes on here. So you get AI to train you on that. And get it to act like that. Say, interview me for a senior leader role. Interview me for these reasons. Interview me for how my comms are. Get AI to teach you that. So that would be the first thing I'd do. The other thing is that the senior leaders at the top that are not jumping into that AI, they're the ones that are going to have to worry. These guys are going to be up. You're going to see people go very, very fast up the line because they've got those skills. We're already seeing it where in recruitment itself, we very rarely now look at experience, right? You can have an exceptional person that's got 35 years experience, led all these great teams, all the rest of it. But if they haven't got AI adaptation and what they're doing now with the tech and all over it, they're dead in the water because you've got guys that can come in and go, mate, I'll run that out. I'll put that process through. Yeah, we'll automate that. We'll make this happen. We'll implement this new program to make that all. So there's all these things now which have leapfrogged very, very fast, straight up the line. And the leaders need to be going, well, I need to learn this tech. Otherwise my job's on the line, because you're going to have very smart new entrepreneur type people come into the field, and they're going to be up to scratch. Like we're at the point now where you'll be asking people what their AI level is, because and their adaptation when they come into a role, because you'll be going, do you understand what algorithms are, and can you write code, and do you write prompts, and do you have your own prompt stack, and how many agents are you using? And like that sort of stuff is what they'll start asking. We should be teaching kids this stuff now, like in the schools, because
I think that comes back to that. Are you an AI native? At some point, we'll start to come into the vernacular. At the moment, it's like, how AI centric are you? I would say you are right at that, that extreme bit where your level of curiosity that you have for things. I mean, nobody taught you this, right? You were
nobody
just
taught me.
Insanely curious person.
No one taught me DJing. No one taught me recruitment. No one taught me sourcing. No one taught me how to code. I'm just curious, Jo. If I find I've got an attraction or a love for one, I teach myself. I taught myself how to write apps when Apple phone first came out. I went, great, there goes apps. What are these apps? I want to build them, So I think that attraction rabbit hole, we'll call it. And I'm constantly in it. I've got like this massive screen here. I'll tell you now, I have to split it 3 times because I'll be concentrating on that, and I'll go, oh yeah, but I can grab the video from there, and like, what if I pull that into that? And then I'll go, oh, what's that new tech? So I'm all over the place, right? And I find myself down this massive rabbit hole. I wake up in the morning with all these screens open going, oh my God, I learned so much, but I've got so much more on my plate out of it, right? Where I'm going, I need to know more. Yeah, it's really attractive for me to find myself in a rabbit hole. I actually don't mind. I find it quite enjoyable because I come out of it going, like the amount of times a problem has come my way and I've only learnt it last week, something that can do that. I've go, oh, you can do that, Matt and I were talking about this last week, but there's stuff that he's working on, and I go, oh yeah, mate, I've got a great app for that, or I'll send you through a link for this, and there's AI that can do that, So I get leaders at work saying to me all the time, oh, we're putting together the org chart, but we're writing it all manually. Can AI just pull that org chart together? Yeah, we could do that. So that the rabbit hole allows me to then come out with solutions. I'm a very solutions person. I think it's probably the male in me, I want to solve everything. It's a bit of a male thing, right? But I've got it in me where I go, I want to just solve it. I want to solve it, and I'm going to learn it till I solve it. It's pretty much where I sit.
You sound like a fun guy to hang out with.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. For companies that are worried about security,
Yes.
For companies that want to pump the brakes on people who are experimenting for one reason or another, what's your advice? Because unfortunately, the Fonterras of the world I don't really hear many of those types of environments where they just unleash and allow their employees to go ahead with whatever platform they want to use. What's your advice for?
Yeah. So the truth is, you'll never stop someone going and using ChatGPT, right? It's on your phone, it's on your personal laptop when you get home. You got your work one there, you got your personal one there. So you will probably never be able to stop it. I think that the key is education around it. It's just no different to the days of business going, oh yeah, that paperwork can't leave the office, or oh if you're going to have that phone call, you need to protect what you're saying there. Be very careful. Check with comms before you make that conversation. All those sort of things is just guidance and education. I think the more people that get educated in what the possibilities could go wrong by having that information out there, I think people then go, actually, I'm not even protecting the IP, I'm protecting myself here. Because everything's captured, right? How many times we teach our kids, don't post things on social media. They're there forever. Watch what you're doing. And so kids are growing up like that. But I think the generation that's in the workforce now that are just going, what's this great tool? I can put anything in there. I can put my development conversation. I can put my da-da-da, and they're putting names and, all that sort of stuff.
And how worried should the C-suite be worried about that?
Well, they should be worried, but they can combat it. One way is what Fonterra is doing: build a internal. I personally, at home here, I don't use the ChatGPTs and all that on the web version. I have what's called a local language model. So I have my own GPT, and I download the language models, and it stays local. So I protect everything I do for my business, for Fonterra, for our family stuff, and it stays on my server. So that's what I'd highly encourage businesses to do: is either allow the employees to have a local language model that they can run, and they can still do it, and it still produces all their results. And this is free. These are free. You don't have to pay for these, and then you'd also got no overheads because you're not paying for ChatGPT and all that other stuff. It's only $20 a month, right? But if you've got 16 people in a boutique recruitment agency, that can add up. So yeah, local language models are great. There's a really cool one out there called LM Studio that I've been using. There's another one called Anytime GPT or something like that. There's lots out there, and you just download the model. So that's one thing that the C-suite should probably look at is, look, we can't control it right now unless we give them options to stay safe, and then also educate them to stay safe if they are going to use it, because there's still an option in the business to use it, because in sourcing, we use it to find people, right? There's passive talent that we do. That's our job, right? So we've got to use what's on the web, and AI has the accessibility to do it and all the rest of it. So I think that's probably two things they can do to protect themselves.
And I think there's lots to gain if they do get it right, by creating many efficiencies across the board, not just within talent, but finance and legal and
governance. The whole deal. That's right.
Well, speaking of governance, I know that you are part of an AI transformation working party. Yep. And I know these are just starting to form in organizations, AI readiness and so forth. The one that you're on, I mean, you're a global sourcing leader.
Yep.
I imagine that in any other organization, it might not be the sourcing leader who's on an AI readiness. I mean, have they tapped you on the shoulder because they just know you're the AI guy, right?
That's exactly what happened.
This is an opportunity you've created for yourself. I don't know if it's an opportunity for just more work, but being on...
It very much was a...
Because of that.
Sorry. Yeah, absolutely. Like it was... I know MBA can do that. So I then started talking to a few people. Then they said, can you jump onto the AI upskilling piece? And then they said, we've got to run out these videos. And I said, well, I know how to create them with AI. And they said, great, can you create these videos? We need to translate them into every language that we're working around the globe. Yeah, I can translate. So it was just more that I was able to do it. And I actually didn't mind, Joe, because it was kind of cool to see the company go through that journey and me to help with the knowledge that I had learned or taught
Mm.
myself to know the rules of, and I also knew to stay within
Yeah.
good tech and the good ways of doing the good processes, right? But the thing was, I was also happy to do it because I'd already learned it, so it was faster, right? And not only that, the company would have had to go out, and get consultants to build this stuff and
Yeah.
all the rest of it. So I was really trying to help where I could, and because I'm quite fast at it, I was quite happy to help and make it happen faster. Because, like I said, at the time, all businesses like Fonterra were going, we need to move on this. We need to get, we need to upskill our people and train them.
Do you feel like many talent leaders are currently today in a position to be able to have impact in those working groups and committees thinking about AI readiness?
Percent. The we've got AI ambassadors, a group, and they every week are coming in and showing new things that maybe what's it called, Copilot has released, or what the businesses can now do with their co-op GPT, which is the internal one, like I said, and they do all that sort of stuff, which is great. So that's a constant thing going on. The AI upskilling was to have an end result product that people could come back to. And both of those, and actually, there's another one called generative AI team that's running. I'm in that as well, and that's where we look at new tech that we could possibly look at, like third party stuff, that we could look at for the business. But in those meetings or in those groups, there is someone from HR, or there's someone from here, and there's someone from there. So we've got this nice ability to go, oh, how would that benefit you? Or someone might go, oh, we can't do that because that might trigger this, and we've got to protect that. So you've got all the more the people that you can have in that group, that working group, the better the outcome will be. Because I'm only going to be looking through a talent lens or an AI lens, right? And HR is only going to be looking through a HR lens and all the rest of it, right? So, but the more you get in there, it becomes a very more complete result, where we've covered our bases there, and we've checked for that, and we had IT in there, they've double checked the access, and where we're going to put those videos and the like. So the more the merrier, Joe, for all the talent leaders, is lean on everybody to make it possible. Don't think you need to answer, because you won't think of everything. So lean on as many different parts of the business you can to add value of what AI can do for them, but what it means to them to have that in there, or what we need to protect. Those sort of conversations are really important.
It sounds like the composition of how you spend your time is really different in 2025 than what it was in, say, 2023.
Yep, totally. I mean, the sourcing piece for me for years was coding, right? I would code to find people on the back end of Google and all that sort of stuff. So, well, people
like Boolean string.
Yeah, Boolean, but I'd automate that. So I'd find a great site that had, great information. Like there was one time, I can't remember who I was working for, but we needed, really skilled people from a company that was quite affluent in housing and stuff like that. So I found all this amazing talent online with Airbnb and and I went, great. So I built a bot that automatically pulled all that data down, and then I could play with it, always from public sites. You don't need to dig, right? You don't need to rip off any information. There's enough good platforms out there if you want to pay for it to get it. But if it's public data, it's free, right? So I used to write bots to do that sort of stuff. But my role has changed from that to actually now finding back to what we said, what pain points that we can simplify, or we can look at, or we can change, or we can make it easier for people. So I sat in a real place of trying to automate my life, which is where like ProPrompt even came from. So I was writing all these prompts going, where am I going to save them? Where am I going to save all these templates? Yeah. So I wrote a website for myself. And the website was for me to go in there and me to add the variable, use it again, right? So that's
now
where
you've got all of these people subscribing to get access. I know you've got prompts about taking care of your pets. Is that right?
Yeah, I've got school homework prompts. I've got you name it. Yeah, there's health and well-being. There's everything in there, because anytime someone had a conversation with me, okay, that's a prompt. out of the back of this, I'd probably start thinking about it and go, oh, what David raised there was actually a prompt. That's a really good prompt. If he's asking it, there's probably more people that are asking for that. So that's the way my brain thinks all the time. There's not a situation where I go, yes, if one person is asking or using it, I'm sure that more will need it. So I find a prompt out of it. Yeah.
Well, creating efficiencies is a great attribute to have because there are lots of opportunities within the workplace, and you really are clearly impacting work.
Yeah, and I think you are going to be such a hot commodity in the market. I mean, you already are. You already make such a big impact, not just to Fonterra, but also the talent community. You are always sharing. I mean, for the month of May 2025, Marrin has been sharing free his favorite prompts to the talent community to find talent. He's always giving back, speaking at events, just so... Marrin, you're so giving of your time and so giving of your expertise.
Thanks, Jo.
I feel like there are some people out there that once they stumble upon something like this, they get quite competitive and quite is sort of putting barriers up. They don't want to share it because maybe it's a value. And Marrin's the opposite. Marrin's like, it's a value, so I want to share it. I should share it. And I feel like we're about to turn a really big corner where organisations are going to be really searching for this expertise. And I feel like you're going to be somebody who's going to be in very high demand. So,
well, hopefully, Jo, that the other people, will benefit from to the point where they get there too, right? That's the idea. The idea is that I could see the gap in our sector. We're the last adopters, right? So that's why I give back, because I've been blessed in my life with really good people that have lent into my life and allowed me to grow and go down the road I wanted to go down. And so the least I can do is do that back. So I really live on that. But I'm hoping out of that, Jo, more people will have opportunities out of it, to the point where someone will turn to an interview with a recruiter and go, well, here's my prompt stack.
yeah.
I go, great.
Amazing.
Great. So you can do all that, right? That's where we want to get people to, right?
Yeah. Oh, incredible. Well, it has been so wonderful to talk to you, as always. Whether it's 60 seconds, it doesn't matter how long it is. Anytime I can get talking to you, Marrin, is always a joy. I always learn so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jo. I feel the same, mate. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice to meet you, David. I do know your face. I don't know how, but I was like, I know him, but I don't know. Maybe we haven't spoken, but I do know you.
Now we do know each other.
Now we do.
Yeah.
Now we do. It's awesome. Yeah.
Well, speaking of bots, I mean, you've got your story feed bot, right? So David's created something that sits on career sites. And on that career site, candidates can go on and start hearing stories of people that work within the organisation and even engaging with them. And what's it like to be a woman working in tech at XYZ?
That's awesome.
Or, and
that's so cool.
And so, you get to hear all these great stories. It just really brings those, employee experiences to the forefront, and people can get a really good visual. So I feel like you guys have got a lot in common.
It was really nice to meet you. Thank you for sharing. Greatly appreciate it.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Buddy.
Yeah, lovely. Thank you so much. You guys have a great day. And again, thank you for the time.
Thanks, buddy. Chat soon.